Hi, this is Srinivasa, a technology professional having 15 years of software industry experience. Today we will have a demo on PLSQL Language Fundamentals, and this demo will give an idea how my teaching methodologies and how I teach, and you can take a decision based upon this. Once the demo is completed, you can go to my website www.raminfotech.in, and there you can enroll for PLSQL class. Okay, all the details are there in that on the website. Okay, all right, let's start. And today PLSQL Language Fundamentals. For as with any language, PLSQL is also a language. It is a procedural language over SQL. PLSQL, PL stands for procedural language, slash indicates over structured query language. So it also has as with any language, normal language, it consists of character sets, and we have certain declarations, naming conventions, and we have scope and visibility of PLSQL identifiers, assigning values to variables, etc. PLSQL expressions and comparisons. We will discuss all these things today. Okay. Now let us see what is character set. Character set, the following characters are used to write program in PLSQL language. One is like upper A to uppercase letters A to Z, and lowercase letters A to Z. So they comprise as part of the character set. They are alphabets, part of alphabets of PLSQL. Similarly, we have numerals 0 to 9. These are numbers, and they are also part of character set. And we have special symbols like opening parenthesis, closing parenthesis, and plus operator, star, and slash, greater, less than, or greater than, or equal to, not equal, exclamatory symbol, tilde, caret. All these symbols comprises character set. They are part of character set. So also apart from these things, we have tabs, spaces, and carriage returns are also part of the character set. Using these character set, we write sentences, or we write statements, and we write a group of statements and all that, and we write program in PLSQL. And PLSQL keywords are not case sensitive. They are not case sensitive in the sense you can use uppercase letters as mixed case letter, or lower case letters. So both are same. Uppercase letters and lowercase letters are also same. So lowercase letters are equivalent to corresponding uppercase letters. For example, you take QTY. Suppose this is an identifier or a variable QTY, and I am moving the cursor, just observe this, or QTY, or small qt, small lowercase letters, or qt, they are all same. Once you declare like this uppercase letters qty, you can use in the program like this qty or lowercase qty. They are all same. They are one and same. So a line of PLSQL text contains a group of characters, and these group of characters are known as lexical units, and they are delimiters, identifiers. These identifiers, which includes reserved words also, and the literals and comments. They are part of the line or statement. So let us see what are the delimiters, what are the identifiers, what are the literals, and what are the comments. A delimiter is a simple or compound symbol that has special meaning to PLSQL. So a delimiter, normally delimiter means a separator of two things. So let us see those symbols and find out the meaning. And you have plus symbol, and we have this plus operator or plus symbol. The meaning is addition operator. To add two things, we use plus. Similarly, percentage, and this is attribute indicator. This is an attribute indicator, like in cursor attributes and all that, we use that. And this is single character, this is single character string delimiter. So I want to represent some strings, I put it in single quotes. And next we have component selector. Component selector we'll discuss when we take up the course. We have a package, or we have a package, within the package we have a procedure. So what do we do? In order to call the procedure, what do? We give the name of the package, dot, and name of the procedure. That is known as component selector. And division operator, expression or list delimiter, this is close, open parenthesis, close parenthesis, colon. All these are all the special symbols, and we have special meaning to plsql. So these are some of the symbols. This is, look at this, colon is equal to, this is an assignment operator, and we use it to assign values to variables. And we have concatenate operator. So look at this concatenate operator to join two expressions or two variables. We use concatenate operator. This is and double star, it is an exponentiation operator. For example, a to the power of b, I can represent a double star b, that is a to the power of b. So similarly, we have label expressions and comments. Look at this, slash star is the beginning of the comment, and star slash is the end of the comment. It is a multi-line comment delimiter, and this is the range operator. Next we have identifiers. Identifiers are nothing but like they use identifiers to name plsql program items and units, such as constants, variables, exceptions, cursors, cursor variables, subprograms and packages. You just give a name to these things. So you give a name to a variable, that is we call it as identifier. Similarly, you give a name to exception, and we call it as an identifier. Similarly, cursors, cursor variables, subprograms are nothing but your procedures and functions. You give a name to a subprogram like procedure, and that procedure name is also known as identifier. Similarly, packages. So we will discuss all these things in our course and in detail about procedures, functions and packages, cursor variables, exceptions, all these things. So this is a basic like demo, and I am just giving the introduction to these things, and I think what is an identifier you understood right now by this time. And there are certain rules and restrictions to write down the identifier. The minimum length of an identifier is 1 character. Naturally, you should have 1 character, and the maximum length is 30 characters. And the first character always start with a letter, must be a letter. The first character must be a letter in the sense an alphabet. A letter in the sense an alphabet. The examples of identifiers, look at this, X is an identifier, T2, here you see T is an alphabet or a character or a letter, and it is starting with this is acceptable identifier. Phone number, phone hash, this symbol, this is phone number, this is also acceptable identifier. Credit limit and credit underscore limit, this is okay. And the last name, look at this is also acceptable. Oracle dollar number, this is also acceptable. Money dollar tree, look at this is also acceptable. And social security number, SN number, so and try underscore again underscore, this is also acceptable identifier. These are the examples of identifiers. And these are the following identifiers which are not acceptable or they are not valid. Look at this, X and Y, and X amperes and Y, and this is not allowed in an identifier, so this is not acceptable. Similarly, look at this second, debit hyphen amount. This hyphen is not allowed in between the words in identifiers, so this is also not acceptable. So on or off, so on slash off, slash is not allowed in the identifier names, so this is not acceptable, this is not a valid identifier. Similarly, user space ID, so this is also not acceptable because space is there in between these two words, user and ID, there is a space, and in an identifier you should not have space. So this is also not acceptable identifier. So plsql, as I told you, plsql is not case sensitive with respect to identifiers. Look at this for example, I declared an identifier like last name, and subsequently I write in the program like this, L capital and AST, N capital in name. So if I write like this, this is also same as the last name as this one. Similarly, all uppercase letters, look at this, this is also same, above or all same. You can represent last name. Okay, whenever you declare this last name in the declaration section, and subsequently I can use like this. So plsql is not case sensitive with respect to identifiers. So they are all same. Look at this in the second example, I declared a identifier last name, there is no gap in between. So last and the name, they are combined, and subsequently if I write last underscore name, they are two different things now. They are not the same. This underscore is there, so it is separator, so it is a delimiter separating two words, last and name. So this is a different than this one. These two are not equivalent. Okay. Normally when you write identifiers, make it meaningful identifier, meaningful word rather than obscure. Okay. Say for example, cost per thousand. If you write an identifier like this, it has a meaning, some meaning. Cost per thousand, it has a certain meaning. It is conveying certain meaning. But whereas you see, if you write CPT, CPT stands for what? So you are, as a programmer, you know it is cost per thousand, but other person may not understand it. So whenever you write identifiers, give a meaningful name to the identifiers, so that it is very easy to read and understand. Okay. All right. And reserved words. And reserved words, like they have both special meaning. Reserved words and keywords have special meaning in plsql. What is you can ask a question like, what is the difference between a reserved word and a keyword? And the difference between reserved word and keyword is that you cannot use reserved word as identifier. You cannot use reserved word as identifier. Suppose you take a reserved word and you cannot declare it as a variable or a word. But keywords, you can use keywords as identifiers, but it is not recommended. So either way, you should not use an identifier, reserved words as well as keywords. It leads to confusion if you use it. Okay. So reserved words are ruled out, that you cannot use as identifier, whereas keywords sometimes you can use, but it is not recommended. So some of the reserved words are here. I put it in alphabetical order. Look at this, all reserved words, all, alter, and, any, as, sc, at, begin, between, by. All these things are all the reserved words, plsql reserved words. So else, end, exception, exclusive, exist, fetch, for, from, go to, grant, group. So I arranged in alphabetical order. Look at this, having clause, having, identified, if, and index, indexes, like that. They are all identifiers. Select is an identifier, reserved word. Select is an reserved word. Similarly, union is a set operator. It is a reserved word. Values, in insert statement you use values clause. That is a reserved word. When, where. Okay, all these are all reserved words. Minus. Keywords. Keywords are agent, add, aggregate, array, attribute, auth ID, average. They are all reserved keywords. So you see the difference between reserved word and a keyword. There is a minor, very small difference between a reserved word and a keyword. Okay. So these are some of the keywords. So hash, heap, hidden, our, immediate, including. All these things are all object. Look at this. Are all organization, Ora data, Oracle, operator, open, these are all keywords. So these are all keywords. So then we have quoted identifiers. So for flexibility, PL/SQL lets you enclose identifiers within double quotes. So you can have identifier in double quotes. That also you can use identifiers using double quotes. But quoted identifiers are seldom, very rarely they are needed. They are very rarely used. But still you can use it. That provision is there. That facility is there. And occasionally they are useful. But it depends depending upon the requirement. But most of the times, 99.99% of the time, you you need not use double quotes in identifiers with double quotes. You need not include identifiers in the double quote. Okay. So they can contain any sequence of printable characters, including spaces. So the identifiers which is put it in double quotes, or say enclosed in double quotes, they can have they are nothing but a sequence of printable characters, including spaces, and it cannot contain double quotes. See, an identifier which is enclosed within double quotes. Within that inside you should not have double quotes. So look at this, the examples of quoted identifiers. So x plus y, this is an identifier, this is acceptable because it is written in double quotes. Without double quotes, that is not acceptable. Similarly, you take last name, there is a space between last and name, and that is acceptable because it is written in double quotes. Similarly, on off switch, like that, so this is also acceptable. And employees, look at this, this is also acceptable identifier. Similarly, header info, so look at this, all these put it in double quotes, and this is also acceptable. And the maximum size of quoted identifier is 30 characters, and this not including double quotes. So without double quotes, you count 30 characters. The maximum length of this identifier could be 30 characters. And next we have literals. Literals of three types, or we have 5 types. One is numeric literals, character literals, string literals, Boolean literals, and date and time literals. So let us see what is numeric literal. So 2 kinds of numeric literals can be used in arithmetic expression. They are integers and real. You know what is the difference between an integer and a real? Integer are whole numbers without a decimal point, and real numbers are numbers written with decimal points. So say for example, 0 is an integer, 0.0 is a real number. Okay. So integer examples like 030, this is an example of an integer, it is a whole number, it doesn't consist a decimal point. Similarly 6 and minus 140 plus 32767, these are all examples of integers. And real literals. A real literal is an optionally signed or whole or fractional number with a decimal point. Look at this example, 6.6667, this is a real number. 0.0 is a real number because it consists of a decimal point. Similarly, minus 12.0, this is signed number, this is a negative number, minus 12.0. Similarly, 3.14159, this is a real number. This is also, look at this, 8300.00, this is also, it has a plus sign. So this is an optional. So 8300 is a positive number and positive real number. Look at this 0.5, we don't have, before decimal point we don't have any digits, so this is equal to 0.5. Similarly, you look at this last number, this is 25.0 actually. You can also mention like 25 point, and this is also a real number. Hope you understand the difference between a real number and a integer. So look at this, the PL/SQL considers numbers such as 12.0 and 25.0 to be real numbers, even though they have integer values. Okay. So because 12.0 because it has a decimal point and 0, this is treated as a real number. And plsql blocks. The basic unit of plsql source program is the block, which groups related declarations and statements. A plsql block is defined by the keywords declare, begin, exception and end. So this is the structure of the plsql block. It is known as anonymous block. It doesn't have any name. So there are three parts in the plsql block. One is declarative part and an executable part and an exception handling part. Only the executable part is required for any plsql block. Okay. This exception handling part is also optional and declarative part is also optional. So declarations are local to the block and cease to exist when the block completes execution. So declarations are local to that block only, and blocks can be nested. You can have a block within another block, and because a block is an executable statement, it can appear in another block wherever an executable statement is allowed. So that is also, you can embed blocks, you can nested blocks within blocks. So look at this, declare, this is the reserved word, declare, and this is the declarative part, which is optional actually. Within the between declare and begin, you declare the variables or identifiers and local types and subprograms you can declare. All these things you can declare within this part. Second one is begin, and we have begin and end. This is executable part. We have actual statements, and we use variables and all that values, assignment statements. You can assign some values to the variables, and you can process the variables, and you can process the statements, like you can get the values from the tables and you can process it. And exception block is an optional block, and exception handlers for exception raised in executable part. What happens if you normally during runtime, if an error occurs, what happens? That error is trapped in the exception handler section. In the exception handler, you can trap the error, and in case of any error, what action should be performed, you mention in the exception section. Okay, and this is the end of the block. So this is known as anonymous block, plsql anonymous block. So most plsql input output is through SQL statements. So input is like you get the values from the tables and you can write it to the table, like so using SQL statement. And all other plsql IO is done through application program interface APIs, such as the plsql package dbms output. So we use dbms underscore output, this package, to print the values of the variables or the actual messages to the user. To display output, pass to dbms output. So you just use dbms output put line, and that is used to display the message to the user. Okay. So in order to execute a plsql block, we execute through SQL star plus, using SQL star plus interface, we execute programs. So some of the packages are like HTF and HTTP. So this is used to display output on a web page, and dbms underscore pipe. So this package is used to pass information between plsql and operating system commands. And UTL file, there is a third one, UTL underscore file. It is to read and write operating system files. UTL HTTP, and it is used to this package is used to communicate with web servers. And UTL SMTP, this is used to communicate with the mail servers. These are examples of some of the packages, built-in packages. So for example, you take number literals, declare n is a variable or identifier, and its data type is number, and in the begin section I assign the values n is equal to minus 9.9999 e minus 130 e notation I have written in this fashion. Similarly, in this next line, n is equal to 9.999 e 125. This way also we can write down. Finally, I am assigning another value, n is equal to 10.0 e 125. So either way, it takes the last assigned value. So the value of n is 10.0 e 125, and you can display the value using DBMS output. So this program doesn't do anything except declaring the variable and assigning the values to the variable. Okay. So this is another example how you declare the variables. Look at this. In the declare section, I declared two variables, x and y. X is binary float. Binary float is the data type, and I am here itself assigning square root. sqrt is the function, built-in function. 2.0 f. F indicates it is a floating point number. 2.0 f. So square root 2.0 f. It takes the square root of 2 and assigned to this variable x. Similarly, I have another variable y is declared, and it is declared, its data type is binary double, and here also look at this, I am assigning square root of 2.0 d. D is double number, double precision floating point number. So, and in the begin section, nothing, null statement I used. This procedure, this program doesn't do anything except declaring two variables and assigning the values. I am not even printing the values. Just in the executable section, I used a statement called null statement. So it doesn't do anything. If you execute this program, you just get the message like plsql procedure successfully completed, but it doesn't display anything. Okay. So then we have character literals.